depending on the size of the egg, I'll start with 4 eggs and I'll whisk that in. And then I'm looking for a particular custard-like viscosity. I might need to add another egg, And then
5 eggs.
5 eggs. I used to because it's the recipe generally is equal parts flour, egg, milk. I used to double the egg, right, and then reduce the milk because your Yorkshire pudding's got massive then.
Welcome to Buckets and Bubbles.
Hello.
It's how are you, Mike?
I mean, with yeah, that's pretty much like there's a lot.
There is a lot.
There's a lot.
There's been 3 games, aren't there?
Yeah.
And it's a mental period when you think about it, because we've got a game on. We're recording now, but you've got a game tonight. Who are you playing tonight?
Nottingham Forest tonight.
Big game tonight.
So
are you at home or away to Forest?
We are at home. So it is. Right. We win tonight. We go within a point of them. We lose tonight, and we're adrift by 7. Yeah.
Because as it stands, we'll get onto the games in a bit. Are you 8 behind us?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So we are like as it stands on the last recording. I think I was talking about how we got beat by Man City, which is no shame in and of itself, but it felt like a pattern had emerged, and I think it has continued.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get onto that in a bit. First of all, why is it called Buckets and Bubbles?
It's called Buckets and Bubbles because Buckets and Bubbles gets used in a few contexts, but the logic is always the same. Buckets is for containment, accumulation, holding things. Bubbles is a release, an expression, letting things rise and pop. It's not poetic, it's not deep, it's just sticky language that stops people disassociating mid-explanation. There we go.
I like it.
There's a service centre somewhere in California that is just going, why do you keep asking this shit?
Yeah. But what's interesting about that is you could relate that to a football team, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got the containment at the back, being solid, not conceding goals, and you've got the bubbles at the front.
That describes some football teams.
Some football teams. Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Should we do some social media? I'm just going to stick all of your YTS ones up because certainly for the Fulham game rather, which I think was the first one.
Yeah.
Have they used this one before with the swirly?
Around the edge of the yeah. It's like they've got a screw-on filter, haven't they? A split diopter, if you want to be technical, but a circular one.
And with the Bowen shirt, combined the two, so still had sort of the moody,
shadowy bit on the cubby hole.
Exactly on the left-hand side. And then we've got a cubby hole there. I can't remember which game that was. Maybe it was the same one. The bow, who knows? I'll stick all them up because they're all quite interesting. What were you doing with? Quite simple stuff. I'm looking at Wolves there, which is just your. Is that? I don't know who that is. Is that Somerville, Bowen, and?
Wilson.
Callum Wilson, Bowen, and I think so. Yeah, I mean, even the Fulham one, it's a bit dull. They're all a bit dull. The ones coming from the club.
Yeah. I've got a feeling when we're on this kind of a streak, there is a memo that goes around that just goes, just steady,
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. We don't want to... So it's why there's nothing on the YouTube. It's why there's, no behind the scenes or, tunnel cam or any of that bollocks. Because they're full of... BS out. Quite rightly so, but obviously they want to avoid it all, don't they?
Plenty of oddballs, fancy pants though.
Yeah, lots of that. That pretty much is kind of like my Instagram story feed. Every other story is an advert for Oddballs West Ham pants. It's like, I get it. I'm a middle-aged man and I support West Ham. I am your target audience, but fuck off. I'm not buying your pants. No.
Just going back to your YTS a minute.
Yeah.
Did do an interesting one with the Wolves, with the Wolves programme, and the ball sat on top of somebody's shorts. Who's 18?
18?
It's Fernandez.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, Fernandez. So on top of his shorts there, that was quite artistic, I thought. So I thought I'd better come back to that one. Anyway, let's put a selection of yours up. Pablo, you've got that one.
Yeah.
Pablo on the bench.
West Ham love a Pablo. We've got a history of Pablos like Herrera and Fornals and Zabaleta, and they've all done business for us, whether briefly in moments of the games, but Pablos are always fondly thought of by the West Ham collective. So, yeah, I ain't got a clue about this player, but
and there he is signing his contract.
Yeah, with his big fancy
there's a relegation clause.
There's
a relegation clause.
Absolutely. There's a
drop Pac-Man.
Yeah. I think it's time. I think he is. I mean, we'll talk about it, but yeah, Pac-Man is he's done for me. I'm fed up with him. He can bollocks. Get him sold. Okay. Although, I mean, we'll get onto it, but Brighton goal and an assist for the first time in about 900 games for him. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just put there, no fucking about now.
Yeah.
Goal and assist against Brighton. Yeah, very nice. We'll get onto that in a minute. Oh yeah, the Lord Napier was back. But anyway, we've got a few of the players in there on the hotspots having their Christmas dinner by the looks of it.
Yeah. I know which one you mean. Yeah.
Full Yorkshire puddings.
I have Yorkshire puddings on my Christmas dinner. I have Yorkshire puddings with every meal I can because I think they're ace.
Yeah, so do I. I'm with you, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, bangers and mash, Yorkshire pudding. Come on.
Well,
chips, Yorkshire pudding. Well, toad in the hole, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
I've got some cooked and frozen. Not Aunt Bessie's. I've cooked them and they're frozen in my freezer just in case. Obviously, they are frozen in my freezer. They're not frozen in my cupboard.
Depends. Listen, your kitchen's in your cellar. It might be a bit chilly down there.
It might be. It is today, I tell you. It proper is today.
-4 when I got in the car this morning when I took the dog out for a walk. -4. In fact, I got in the car to take my son to school, and we got in. It said -2, and we drove towards school, and he's going, "How has it gone down 3 degrees? How is it getting colder?" Yeah, should have put your coat on.
Yeah, love it. Yeah,
silly git. So they're having the Christmas dinner, so that's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the Lord Napier or whatever that is. And was there something else for you? Oh, just big sigh.
Yeah.
Big
that's pretty much meh. I'm pretty meh when it comes to West Ham of this last month.
So just tell me your Yorkshire pudding mix recipe.
Yorkshire pudding mix. Okay, so I always start off with flour, and it's always 4 heaped teaspoons of flour. It's then either, depending on the size of the egg, I'll start with 4 eggs.
Hang on. Heaped teaspoons or tablespoons?
Sorry. Tablespoons.
I was going to say, that's not a lot of flour. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So 4 heaped tablespoons.
Of plain flour. I don't sieve it.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of the egg, I'll start with 4 eggs and I'll whisk that in. And then I'm looking for a particular custard-like viscosity. I might need to add another egg, And then
5 eggs.
5 eggs. I used to because it's the recipe generally is equal parts flour, egg, milk. I used to double the egg, right, and then reduce the milk because your Yorkshire pudding's got massive then. But the taste.
So how much milk are you putting in? 4 heaped teaspoons of flour, 4/5 eggs.
I mean, if they're small eggs or if they're medium eggs. If they're medium eggs and they're over decent, then I'll stick with 4. So it'll be 4, and then I'm literally looking for a slightly runny custard texture with the milk. So I don't put it all in at once. I kind of.
How much are you putting in at the beginning? Just a bit.
I'm not putting any milk in. Oh, do you mean when I first started to put milk in?
Yeah.
I just kind of
Well, hang on. Are you whisking the flour and the eggs together
Yeah,
first?
always whisk
No
the eggs, because
milk.
that's no milk. Because when you whisk the flours and the eggs together, you're able to get rid of all the lumps easier, and you get a more consistent batter. And then you're thinning that batter with the milk. Yeah.
So
So you
what you,
get.
are you using a whisk or a fork? What are you doing here?
I'm using a whisk. I'm using a full whisk.
All right. Okay.
Salt, pepper into the fridge. An hour before you want to do them, take them out, bring it to room temperature, whisk, and then put it in your pan. Don't know why, but that makes a hell of a difference. And then it is in the oven, up full knacker, then down to 180 for however long you like them, whether you like them deep brown or light brown or what. Done.
Well, Jamie Oliver can go get bollocksed. I'm definitely doing that.
Jamie Oliver can always go get bollocksed. Anyway.
Fair enough. Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to do your games first?
Yeah.
Go on.
So Fulham, I thought was it was one of those, but I don't think we played that bad. I think Fulham at home. I mean, we weren't magnificent, but I think as a defensive unit, I think we were better. And it's one of the things I've been really impressed about under Nuno is compared to Potter and compared to Lopetegui, I feel defensively we are better under Nuno. I have seen us be defensively much, much better under Moyes, under Pellegrini, under Bilic. But I think that speaks of the squad we have, had and currently have. Kilman, I gave a little bit of a pass to for a time, but I think he's absolutely come back as the awful, not at standard Premier League defender. I think he's terrible. But overall, we kept Fulham, which isn't this isn't me thinking we're amazing, but we kept Fulham at bay for quite a lot of that game. And then unfortunately, absolutely just look at the draw. Ollie Skiles goes to clear it, completely misses it. Fulham pick it up. Jimenez, 85 minutes, 1-0 Fulham. How's your father? They shut up shop, and we're just like shit. So, we lost at home, we lost to Fulham. All those things on paper are terrible, but I think the performance gave us something to kind of go, we're getting close to transfer window. If we can we've got Wolves coming up, Brighton, we can, we'll possibly do something there, even if it's a draw. We'd be quite happy with that. So pretty buoyant, but kind of overall, it's disappointing, but you're like, fair enough, it's the luck of the draw, it swings and roundabouts, it's blah, blah, blah. I just hope Ollie Skiles, being the young lad he is, coming into this is his first proper season at West Ham as an academy graduate. You just want him to, get up, dust himself off and crack on. And thankfully he has done. That's exactly what we've seen from him in his performances since, specifically at Brighton. Brighton, I think he absolutely came out swinging. And we're like, I'm not going to be defined by a missed kick against Fulham. I mean, just at the end of that Fulham game, just to round that off, because there's not a lot really to talk about when it comes to Fulham, you could see how much it meant. He was on his knees. He was devastated. And I think it took 2 or 3 players to really console him to get him off the pitch. But yeah, we roll around to Brighton.
He was absolutely gutted. He was gutted. It was, yeah.
I mean, it's
nice to watch that.
It's his boyhood club. He's been here since Dot. It means a lot.
Yeah.
And he's part of the the academy squad who have done great things. Won the FA Cup and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so he's used to performing at a standard, and that's why I think we're seeing quite a lot of the academy coming through at the moment. Because they are really good. We've had a really good class, and we're in that sticky period. I think, which is people talk about what's the reason why West Ham are doing really badly at the moment, and there's lots of reasons. That like the 75% is David Sullivan and Karen Brady. That is absolutely why we're doing so badly. In that remaining 25%, I think there's maybe a 5% issue where we are very transitional in terms of the squad we have is there's a lot of key players and key positions that are made up of academy players who have played lower leagues and played, regularly, like Potts and Skiles and all those, but have done great things and have, in the academy setup, have done good things in lower leagues, but haven't done it together in the Premier League. And I feel like there's a little bit of transitional stuff going on there. And the other 10% is made up of Paquetá and other players being shit, like Kilman and Mavropanos's comedy errors. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're all on to Brighton. Brighton, I think, was a little bit more frustrating because I feel like we lost 3 points there. Even though we came out with a draw, we came out with 2-2, and nobody ever complained to a Desmond really. you're kind of like, fair enough. It sounds like a decent, entertaining match, and at times it really was. We had a goal and assist, like I mentioned earlier, for Paquetá, which can't be sniffed at. They come few and far between. They are like hen's teeth, but when they happen, you're grateful for them. If I'm going to go stinker, like there's obviously Scales has got a stinker for Fulham. Stinker for Brighton is Lucas Paquetá's run up for that penalty. I hate those stuttered, stupid, and then stop with your leg up, and then you're like, ugh, and it's like, just take a penalty, just run up to it and give it a whack with your laces, put your fucking foot through it, scored a penalty, don't dick about. And it just, he scores more than he misses, but I just think, like Zaza, you remember Zaza, who played at Juventus and he came to West Ham, and at whatever it was, Euros or World Cup, whatever, he had a penalty for Italy and did the whole thing and skied it and looked like a right moron. And
who was it over Christmas? Because Paquetá got slated for that, but somebody tried to do a Panenka and hit the bar, and I can't remember who that was. Can't remember who it was, but yeah, stop fucking about, because if it goes in, fine. If it doesn't, then you just get slated. Whereas if you, like you say, if you put your foot through it and then the keeper saves it, it's a good save.
Yeah, and it's like there is, and like you're being facetious slightly by saying stick your laser through it and just whack it. There is absolutely skill to those type of penalties to be admired. Do you know what I mean? Like Mark Noble used to take. There we go. There's the mention for this week. Mark Noble used to take penalties like that, but he was really skillful with it. He could place the ball, but he would run up and he would get a boot and it would go.
Won a World Cup, didn't he, Mark Noble?
Yeah, probably at darts in Berlin.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
The thing that annoyed me, I think, with Brighton is we absolutely just stopped playing at one point and just sat back and let them on to us, which is, that's all right if you've got the defence to do it, but we haven't. We've got, Kilman and Mavropanos and Todibo. Todibo's getting better, I'll grant him that, but he's nowhere near James Collins, and that's said with absolute genuineness. That's not a word. But
genuineness.
Yeah, like there's a definite skill set in being able to bring the ball out and to carry it into midfield and be those kind of link up players and your pass accuracy and all that kind of stuff. But you also need to stop it. And that in fits and starts. Kilman he'll do it. He'll go and runs to Debo, go and runs. Mavropanos will try and fall over and get a yellow card or something. But none of them really display like the art of defence to a particular degree which warrants them being in the Premier League. None of them as yet. Just
looking at the shots on target for those two games, Fulham and Brighton, 6 shots on target.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is that shit, or is, and we'll deal with Wolves slightly differently, but so I had a look at our game, the corresponding games against Sunderland and Liverpool, and we only had 8 shots on target, but 6 of those were against Sunderland. And 2 of them were against Liverpool. I mean, we just defended. We went there to defend, really, against Liverpool. Yeah. But just looking at, I know you're going to go on to Wolves, but no shots on target at all at Wolves.
Yeah, yeah. And when we got into the start of this season, and we were looking at Potter's midfield, and we were seeing James Ward-Prowse, who has his skills and all that stuff, but isn't quick.
Where's he gone?
He's sat in the gym. Nuno, he's not a fan. When we loaned, Lopetegui loaned him to Nottingham when Nuno was in charge there, and he played twice, and then so we recalled him in January because he weren't getting used. And then the exact same things happened here. As soon as we announced Nuno, you could tell James Ward-Prowse were like, well, that's me going on holiday then for the winter. And it, immediately he was dropped and just
so he'll be sent out presumably.
Yeah. I mean he'll be sold, as to whoever. And we paid a lot of money for him. We paid over 30 million quid for him. But I think at this point the balance sheet would allow us to flog him for like between 5 and 10 million and not really give a shit about it.
Not scared of spending big money on some bang average players, are you?
Yeah. This is why like 75% of it is David Sullivan's fault, because this is him. At the moment, we're on that ship. It's David Sullivan, and it is Nuno's favoured agent. I forget his name, but he always uses this particular one, and which is why Kyle McCauley, who was our previous head of recruitment, was fired. We spent £1 million getting him out of Chelsea, And to be fair, you know, the recruitment under Potter wasn't magnificent. Nobody really stood out. There's been some all right and some yet to be proven, but still, that's somebody who is tasked with that job who isn't being allowed to do it because one 80-year-old little man fancies playing football manager with £1 billion Premier League team. You know,
running out of games to be proving things, though, aren't they?
yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, we're what, is it 20?
20, 18 games left.
18 games, yeah. So we're over halfway, and we have got, like, before Christmas, I think we would safely have said 8 to 10 wins over the next 24 games would have been more than enough. Readjust in the summer, hopefully with new owners. And we're just, you know, it's going to have to be win-win draw, win-win draw. It's going to get to that point where mathematically we're going to have to pull something out of the bag. It's going to be Great Escape. It's going to be hoping for Tevez, 0.2. And so,
Talk to me about Wolves.
Wolves. Well, I think that the stats bear it out. You know, no shots on target, 6 shots overall to their 11, none on target. They had 8. We looked all right for the first few minutes. I thought, you know, it was going back and forth, blah blah blah. As you're like, cool, you know, this. It doesn't feel like we're absolutely singing, but it doesn't feel like this is going to be awful. And then they score, and we just. It was an absolute shit show from that point. In when the second one went in, that penalty, I mean, that was absolutely Ban Kilman's. Was it Kilman?
Yeah,
I'm sure it was. Absolutely, you know, naivety to give that penalty away.
Who in the team? Because, you know, we could go through the goals and sort of. I mean, it was basically a 20-minute period of absolute nightmare. You know, I watched it. Second half was. Neither here. I mean, you had to score early in the second half, otherwise it was just going to happen. What was going to happen was what was going to happen. They were just going to defend. Who in that team is up for the fight?
Based on Wolves, based on that, I think, and there's a difference between up for the fight and capable of fighting, because I think Somerville absolutely gave 100%. He's just. His final touch is...
Going forwards, yes.
But his final touch is to be desired.
How much is he willing to... Yeah, And I'm with you on that. You know my feelings on Somerville. He's got it. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, he went missing for us in that playoff semi-final. Didn't want to know. And I just wonder... Bowen didn't really seem to be doing that side. Yep. It was weird, that game, because the thing was that you've just talked about Fulham and Brighton. They were fine. I thought I didn't think you were particularly great. I thought you were better against Brighton, but it was fine margins, and it sort of in the end sort of could have gone either way. But against Wolves, I mean, they looked like they'd just had enough. That was is there a fitness thing?
So after Wolves, there's a little bit of afters with this. After Wolves, there's been lots like Jacob Steinberg is one of the more reliable journalists in terms of like access to West Ham. So whenever, you know, Jacob Steinberg writes about West Ham, you kind of like there's an air of truth to it. You know, somewhere in there, beyond the journalism of it, there is an absolute truth. And part of that article was talking about the players' confusion with Nuno's training and tactics. And this was all around the idea that Nuno is, I mean, what is it? 9 games, 2 wins, whatever draws, 1 million losses. You know, it's a worse record than Potter in the equal amount of games. It's a worse record than Lopetegui. Yeah. You know, worse managers have been sacked for this. And you kind of felt like the media were sensing that and were obviously writing the pieces based on their insider knowledge, you know. And actually, you know, I don't know how old this information about this is. It could be, you know, this could have been said within the first 2 weeks of him being there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But obviously now it suits the narrative for it to be published. The club have come out and spent an awful lot of money on Pablo and, you know, potentially... well, it's Forest tonight. Tati's already signed. They've spent 50 million quid on 2 strikers, which are Nuno's picks, and the club have said these are Nuno's picks. So there's an absolute firm approval of Nuno being in charge. which has scuppered that kind of media narrative of there's dissent and he's lost the dressing room. But you look at Wolves and you look at that second half. That's exactly what happened. Is it looked like there was disconnect between Nuno and the team on the field. There was no substitutes made in the second half of any note to influence the game. He sat on the bench for the entirety. He never really got up and was in his technical box. And at full time, he went straight down the tunnel. They never, the club and most Premier League clubs will always kind of salute the away fans and go and applaud. The managers and staff and stuff will do that. But no, straight down the tunnel. And in his press conference before Nottingham, he acknowledged that and acknowledged the wrongdoing. But it's like if he's gone in and give him the hairdryer and give him what for and stuff like that, you'd expect him to be prowling and to be up and down and kind of going, "I've told you, do it. Come on, crack on." It feels like the squad had a go at him, and he was sulking.
I've said to you before that it's a long season, but I'm now really worried about you guys. I get it with needing striker, but 2 strikers, that's not the problem. But conceded 6 goals in the last 3 games. Contrast it with us, and I know it's slightly different, but we've conceded 2 goals in the last 3 games against, Sunderland. I know are a newly promoted side, but they're still up there against basically sides in the top 6. Now, that's not a striker problem.
You're exactly right, and it's one of the things which I don't know if I finished my thought on this, but when I was talking about the midfield and how we started the season with Ward-Prowse and Souček and Guido Rodriguez, and there was a makeup of a midfield there. Magassa would get a few minutes, Potts would get a few minutes, and Fernandez, etc. And we were like, it's our midfield. The midfield is a problem because based on the evidence that we were seeing, the midfield were not able to link play between the defenders and the strikers and the front line. We knew that our defenders weren't great, but maybe we had a fortunate run or whatever. But then as soon as Nuno comes in and we switch out that midfield and we kind of go, actually the midfield's fine, but we're still losing games, and then you just have to look behind those 3 and look at that defense. Like we've tried 3 at the back, we've tried 2 at the back, and we just cannot seem to find, either through luck and injury or through tactical nous or player ability, be able to find a partnership, a pair, and a system which allows us to defend with any sort of stability and control, which is unsettling when it came to the January transfer window and we're told Nuno is prioritising strikers. He wants 2 strikers, and Callum Wilson can leave, and Fulkrug can leave, which we've seen. Fulkrug's gone to AC Milan. Wilson is in talks to leave the club after only joining in the summer. And we're left with 2 unproven players who I don't know anything about, Pablo and Tati. They're nobody who have set Europe on fire. Pablo has scored 10 goals in 13 games in the Portuguese league for a mid-table side. But again, we're told that's Nuno's wanting 2 strikers, blah, 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 and then we will look at defence. So we've got us 2 strikers in.
How much money have you got to spend?
We don't know, really.
Right.
You could look at the FPR. Is it FPR what it is now? The financial fair play. Whatever rule it is at the moment, and I think we've got capacity to spend money and not show and not breach that. If we go down, we're absolutely shafted. We're gambling on survival, and if we don't survive, we will be done. I feel like we would sink. It's a real financial gamble.
If you lose tonight, is it done?
I feel like if we lose tonight, I think it's a change of manager. I think that's. They have. This is as ridiculous as.
Change your manager.
I know. But this is as ridiculous
they just brought 2 strikers in on his say.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to change manager, surely.
This is. Me and you would agree on that. Absolutely, you would go. Do you know what? You've backed him. You need to stick with him, and that would be the sensible thing to do. Because if you bring his squad in, then he will be able to develop that and put his tactics in, and we'll have half a chance, quarter of a chance. That's the sensible thing. David Sullivan is a moron. And he will go, sack him. Bilic is free. We'll bring him in. And
is he actually free?
Yeah, and he's actually lined up. Yeah. So
Amarin's free.
And we interviewed him.
I know. Well, he knocked on your door. To be fair, He
Yeah.
was the one that knocked. He was the one that did that. I was listening to someone last
Yeah.
night and he was saying that he was the one that came to West Ham and said, I'll come and do you a job for you,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
wanted to move to the Premier League.
This is David Sullivan. He's a flip flop. He's an absolute, like, he's gone from David Moyes and spent money and time with David Moyes, and then Lopetegui comes in, gets rid of the spine of it. Creswell, Sufal, Antonio, Zuma, all the big voices have gone. And that is what killed us. But then behind that is Sullivan saying, yeah, Julian Lopetegui's the man. I'll back him. I'll sanction all these releases, because there were contracts probably there for a lot of those players, and it was on the manager's say so. And in that, Sullivan is always the one who rubber stamps everything. It's not something where anybody particularly has autonomy to make those choices at the club. It's always Sullivan. And so, like, this is absolutely all on his doorstep. It's all on his desk. Every single bad thing that goes wrong with his club is sat on that man's desk, and it is linked to it. Like, you could look at Potter and say he's a useless manager, and there is lots of evidence to say that. But his appointment was, Karen Brady vouched for him because it's her husband's best mate. Sullivan went with it. Sullivan is somebody who is on record saying he doesn't think Potter's a good manager, and he's probably going to be on record as saying that again. But it's all on his desk. It's all on his head, and every single thing is. You can trace with a big ruler. You can draw a line straight back to the Dildo Brothers.
It'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. It'll be interesting because I think you've got to win. I think if you don't win, I think that might be it. Because the problem that I've got with West Ham, as I see it, is what you've said numerous times. That there are no leaders in that team.
No.
There's nobody that's grabbing a game by the scruff of its neck. For example, against Manchester United, we battled well, but we missed Ampadu. When Ampadu doesn't play in our side, we were missing Ampadu and Rodon, which is basically the spine of our team. Both of those they're warriors. They're not the best footballers in the world. They're not going to be pulling up any trees in the Premier League. But what they do is they put a tackle in. They do the dirty side of the game. They're throwing themselves about. They're screaming at other people. They're telling other people what to do. Longstaff, again, he's been out for a long time. He's on his way back for us. But he's another one that does that. He's telling people what to do. And I just don't see where those leaders are in your team. I don't see it.
And I'll give Bowen a little. There's been times over these couple of games where you've seen him turn around and give somebody a blasting, and he's been in the referee's ear a lot more than what I've seen. And whether that's something which he's decided to do upon himself or he's been needled into it by everybody, I don't know. But it was nice to see. Brighton, there was a point where Potts could have played him in and been a bit more in advanced position, but Potts stayed back to be defensive and was proved quite right because there was a counter and they were able to snuff it. But he turned around and give Potts what for, and Potts gave a little back, and you were like, cool. That's what I want. I want to see that. I want to see that somebody gives a shit. Like, nobody wants to see like any teammates come to fisticuffs or out like that. But you want to see them give a shit. Like, the second mention of Mark Noble he's the player who technically wasn't the greatest, but was, and he will say it in every interview he's ever had since his retirement, is he was there under 9 managers and every single one of them picked him in the starting 11. And there's a reason.
Give me your starting 11 after the roughly your starting 11 after the transfer window's shut.
Right, cue the drill. So for me, Alphonse Areola in goal. Out of the 3 keepers we have, because we retained Fabianski in the end, I think he's the one who is, in terms of skill, ability, and match readiness, is the one who has that for the rest of the season, unless we bring in a worldie to replace him, and I don't think that's going to happen. I would go Wan-Bissaka on the right. I would have a back pairing of probably Todibo and Cresswell, if we bring Cresswell in from Toulouse. Is he at Toulouse? A left of either Diouf or Scarles. Diouf's, I think, and Scarles are maybe about the same in terms of their ability. Scarles is having a good run, so I'd be happy with either of those. Midfield, Potts, Magassa, and Fernandez. I don't think any of those needs replacing. We maybe just need somebody on the bench to kind of push him on a little bit. At the moment, that is going to be Guido Rodriguez and Souček. They're our midfielders who I think are most likely to be the substitutes, and I would like to strengthen one of those, but that's not the starting 11. And then it's either going to be Somerville, Paquetá. Paquetá, I'm going to say, is going to get sold, or I want him to get sold. So it's going to be whoever replaces Paquetá / Somerville, and I think we need to update that left wing. Tati, having seen Tati play now, and Pablo, I think out of the two, I would maybe want Tati, and I'd want somebody a bit closer to him, and then Bowen on the right. That's who I would. 4-3-3. And that's about 2 minutes.
That's all right. So we'll stop that there. So let me just recap. So you've got Fonzie in nets.
Yeah.
You've got Wan-Bissaka, Todibo.
Yeah.
Who else?
Cresswell. We'll sign Cresswell.
All right. Okay. Cresswell and Diouf / Scales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Midfield of Potts, Magassa, and Fernandez.
Yeah. We possibly an update on the bench, but we were talking starting 11. But I would start those three and have a better substitute.
Okay. And then a front three, you're saying Somerville, Paquetá, and who?
Somerville / Paquetá, Tati,
right.
and Bowen. And I feel like what we need is somebody to push Bowen. Again, we need a substitute right winger, somebody up and coming.
So I'm just pushing you on this.
All right.
So Diouf or Scales, which one?
Scales.
All right. And Somerville or Paquetá, which one?
I'd say Somerville.
What, because Paquetá is going to be sold?
Maybe, but also I think when Somerville goes missing, he goes missing for periods of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas there is a portion of the game where he does give a shit and he applies. Paquetá can go missing for weeks, and he does nothing for 90. Do you know what I mean? I would rather have 10 minutes of Somerville per game than a 90-minute every 5 weeks. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. All right. So you reckon after the transfer's finished, I thought. So who do you think's coming in? Because you think Cresswell's coming in.
I think Cresswell's coming in, and I think that's it. I think that's probably unless we're up to, unless we sell Paquetá, and which I don't think. I'm hoping we sell Paquetá. I don't think we're going to sell Paquetá.
So that's the West Ham picture so far, which is, I mean, let's face it, is a bit fucking glum, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit glum. But things can change quickly in football, and we'll see over the next few weeks. Like and subscribe, and remember that Part 2, which are the Leeds games, is coming shortly. Yeah. See you in a bit.
Yeah. Adios.
Thank you.